The final score of men's basketball win over Lehigh says blowout. But having actually watched the game, maybe not so much. Is there cause for concern early about the Tar Heels?
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, it's Monday, November 13th, 2023. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shaden. I want to thank you everydayers in particular for joining us on today's episode to make Locked On Tar Heels your first listen to get your Tar Heels content every single day. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. If you want to be a bigger part of the Locked On Tar Heels community, come join our Discord where we're having great Carolina conversation and all sorts of conversation all day long. Get in on this thing. People are talking seriously all the time. It's great. The link is in the show notes. Coming up on the show today, we're going to have our recap, our review of the basketball game, Four Corners recap, shady stat of the game. We're going to take a weekend whip around other stuff that happened in Carolina athletics. But we do start right out of the gate looking at the shape of this win. The final score of this game, 90-68, doesn't really show it. But Lehigh did work in this basketball game. I know you look at that and you say, 22-point victory? Really, Lehigh? Yeah. Because if you legitimately go beyond the box score to having just watched this game, I don't think you would feel the same as if you solely looked at the box score or the final score on ESPN or whatever it was. And I imagine that maybe like me, you felt different if you did watch the game. I mean, Lehigh got this thing down to 3 points with 13:25 left in the game. And then Carolina took it and had their way with it at that point. But perhaps you're like me in another way and you started critically thinking here like, oh man, this is not good. A tight win over Radford that I could explain away. But now this. And you got these two data points. This one's too close for comfort. And so, you might look at this and think, oh boy, I remember last year Carolina wasn't dominating this early season bye game competition dominant enough at the level of competition it is. But I had to remind myself on Sunday, as I will with all of you right now, of the context of this game and the context of where we're at in the season. That said, let me make 4 points to tell you why I think there is no reason for concern about where Carolina is at right now. Now, if they were playing like this in January, yeah, I'd be worried, but I'm not right now. Number one reason, I'm going to give you 4. No one played more than 30. No one played 30 minutes a game or more. RJ Davis played the most at 29 minutes and 20 seconds. Armando, 25 minutes, 57 seconds, which, by the way, can you imagine what he would have done in this game with more time? Ridiculous. The second most minutes played was Harrison Ingram. This dude, if you haven't caught it already, just in the 2 games and the exhibition game, is critical. Swiss Army knife, loves to do it all. It's awesome to have him. He just does so many things. In this game against Lehigh, 14 points, 7 rebounds. I love watching him lead the break. It's just, he gets and goes and is like, get out of the way. Here I come. I don't know if I'd say most importantly, but check this. Clearly in the game where Armando Bacot just dominated everything, he led the game in plus minus, right? No. Oh, it must have been RJ Davis then, because he was the other 22-point scorer. He was on fire. No. It was Harrison Ingram that led the team with a plus 24 in plus minus, meaning Carolina was 24 points better than Lehigh when he was on the floor. It's not the only metric of measurement of a player's helpfulness to a team, but it is a great one. So why do I bring it up to say, nobody played 30 minutes in this game? Because it means Coach Davis is spreading out opportunities to everyone as much as possible. 9 different Tar Heels played 10 minutes or more. Jae'lyn Washington played 8:51, so he would have made, just shy, like a minute 9 seconds shy of being a 10th player to play double digits. Coach Davis rotated in 10 players in the first 12 minutes of the game. So I say that to say, don't take too much away from this game, like how you would feel if this was an ACC game, because Coach Davis is getting lots of dudes, lots of minutes at a way in which he probably won't do. For example, again, Armando Bacot only played 25 minutes. He will be playing more later in games. Number two, the reason that I look at this and I say, yeah, take it with a grain of salt, is because of lineup experimentation. We're at this point where Coach Davis is trying some different things to see what kind of combinations he's got, who works together when the lights come on. He's seeing what he sees at practice, but it's different when the lights come on. So here is an example of an interesting lineup used on Sunday. RJ Davis, Cormac Ryan, Seth Trimble, Harrison Ingram, and Zayden High. No Bacot at the 5, no Okonkwo at the 5, no Jalen Washington at the 5. Zayden High is playing the 5. Isn't that an interesting lineup? You got these 3 guards, and you can sub out Elliot for Trimble or something like that, especially to get some more offense. But that was a really interesting one. So you're seeing some combinations like that because, again, coach is trying some things. So once again, meaning take this with a little bit of a grain of salt. Number 3, let me remind you of the makeup of the Tar Heels. 4 returning players, 2 of whom are freshmen that didn't get a ton of burn last year, 2 incoming freshmen, and 5 transfers. That's your 11 scholarship players. Why do I remind you of that? Because yes, these dudes have done an excellent job gelling together off the court, getting to know each other, growing in bonds. But it just takes time on the court to gel at the same capacity. So yeah, Carolina's going to have some disconnected moments, especially in the early part of the season, as will many other schools that are trying to work in so many guys like this. Even though, the majority of the transfers in are older dudes, you still got to learn your new team. And so this isn't just Carolina. This is why we see unexpected results, upsets at a higher level than we typically do. That was very true last year. So keep your eye on that. But again, that's another reason why I'm not too terribly worried. These guys are still learning what it means to play with one another. And then the 4th reason that I'm taking this result, and honestly Radford with a little bit of a grain of salt, is this. Carolina only gets 4 of this level of game this season, 4 bi-level games as part of the non-conference portion of the schedule. And Carolina's halfway through them already now, having played Radford and then LeHIGH. All you got left for the bye games is UC Riverside this coming Friday, and then Charleston Southern right before you kick off the main chunk of ACC play. And so I say that because coach has to do everything he can right now to try to make these in-game changes and adjustments and see what he wants to do and try combinations and try sets and all of this stuff. Because you can't do that at Atlantis. You can't do that at the Jimmy V Classic. You can't do it during the ACC SEC Challenge. You can't do it during the ACC portion of the schedule, at least not to the level that you can do it right now. So yes, coach is going to tinker. He's going to try things. And that means all of this, that you might not beat as an opponent as soundly as you otherwise would expect to when you're in mid-season form. So be like me, realize the error of your ways and be like, okay, all's going to be good. It's going to come together. Now, at the same time, am I excusing the mistakes of this team? Am I overlooking them? Am I whitewashing them? Absolutely not. For example, they've got to stop penetration better. They cannot allow LeHIGH to make 13 threes. Like, that's just unacceptable. They're going to need to hit more threes of their own. The percentage was not good on Sunday. They got to keep assists up and turnovers down. Rains came up in the flood. Anybody know that song? Yeah. Anyway, so While yes, I'm saying take this result with a grain of salt. I mean, take this result. They won by 22, but you know what I mean. That it was closer than it really felt. Take it with a grain of salt, but don't excuse and don't ignore and overlook the areas of concern. Got to get those fixed, and Carolina will be working on just that. Well, friends, that's kind of the big picture takeaway from this game where I'm at on it. It's time now for our Four Corners recap and the shady stat of the game. Bold take. Things are better when the ball's in the big man's hands, Armando Bacot. I'll unpack more about that in just a second. Right after I tell you that this episode of Locked on Tar Heels is brought to you by Game Time. College basketball season is here. Hey, maybe it's Thursday morning or Friday morning. You're like, man, I want to go to that game against UC Riverside tonight. Hop on Game Time. See if you can find tickets. I almost guarantee you'll be able to, because Game Time always has these tickets you need at a price you're good with, and you get a picture of the view from your seat so you know how things look right there in the app. That gives me such good peace of mind because I got to know what my seat view looks like. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for any event you're looking for. Football, basketball, music, theater, you name it, they've got it. And in addition to that view from your seat feature, I also really like their lowest price guarantee and their event cancellation protection. It gives me peace of mind to go ahead and purchase my tickets knowing that it'll be taken care of in the future if something happens. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Terms apply. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Okie dokie, it's time for our Four Corners recap of the game. For those of you that might be new to our show, that's the way that we review our basketball games and get ready for them, by honoring Coach Smith's Four Corners offense. We call this our Four Corners recap. Number one, I mentioned the big man in the middle and how things are better when you get the ball in his hands. It's just so true. Before I talk about Armando's stat line here in Four Corners point number one, let's just say this. Armando Bacot has to touch the ball outside of like fast breaks, extenuating circumstances or possessions. On a normal standard possession, even if you get a fast break and you got to run some secondary, Armando has to touch the ball on every possession. I know you want RJ and Elliot and Seth and Harrison Ingram being your main distributors, but you can't play through Armando Bacot. He can score when he needs to. He'll kick back out when he needs to. He has to touch the ball every possession, especially on a game like LeHIGH where you got the advantage in both talent and height. Just exploit it over and over and over again. Carolina would have stretches where they would focus in on that, and others where they just forget. And this is what basketball players do. It's hard to remember. It's hard to find the entry angle passes, the entry pass angles that you're looking for. So I get that. But man, Armando's stat line in this game, it was a unique stat line even for Armando Bacot. Let me give it to you. I already said 25 minutes, 57 seconds. So let's call it 26 minutes. 8 of 14 from the field, 6 of 6 from the free throw line, 20 total rebounds, 6 of which were offensive. Drew 7 fouls, had 1 assist, 1 turnover, 2 steals, and a block. That, friends, is a stat line from the big man Armando Bacot. And it won't last, but through 2 games, listen to these averages. He's averaging 23.5 points, 16.5 rebounds, shooting 60% from the field, and 91.7% from the free throw line. Yeah, you heard me right on that. Not only all that, but this was his 3rd career 20-point, 20 rebound or more game. Just silly stuff. He's racking up all these, like, I've never done this before. I've only done this a few times, even in just these first 2 games. And it doesn't seem to be going anywhere the way that Carolina is kind of relying on Armando. Now, 70th double-double of his career. His dub-dub achieved it in the first quarter, which is always insane. But Armando joins Ralph Sampson, you heard of him, Tim Duncan, you heard of him, as the only 3 players in ACC history to have 70 or more career dubs. Now, for both of those other guys, they were up in the 80s, which, barring injury, knock on wood, Armando should get there. Great stuff. Four corners, point number 2. I want to highlight somebody that we don't often have an opportunity to highlight, and that's Seth Trimble. I would not have guessed it till I looked at the box score, but he played only almost 19 minutes of this game, 18:54 to be exact. Seth is the kind of guy that can affect a game in ways that aren't just, I'm putting the ball in the basket. And I think that is often our metric and our measurement for how we think a guy is performing, because to just play lockdown defense outside of steals and blocks isn't as quantifiable. And so we say, oh, sure, he's great, right? No. Seth Trimble added a great deal on Sunday. Played those 19 essentially minutes, got 3 points, all of which were at the free throw line, had 3 assists and 0 turnovers. And the reason why that was important on this afternoon is because RJ Davis, 1 assist, 3 turnovers. Elliot, Cadeau, 0 assists, 2 turnovers. So you really need these assists and turnover and 0 turnovers from Seth Trimble, right? Like, he's got to be doing those things when RJ and Elliot aren't. Honestly, you'd love to have them all 3 going, but you got to assume that at least one of the 3 of them is on at all times. Also, Seth had a block. It's a really nice block. So, four corners, point number 2, Seth Trimble showcased what his ideal role can be this year, doing things for his team to help his team win. Number 3 on our four corners recap is this: 3-point three-pointers made and 3-point percentage is down. Assists and assist percentage were down, but free throws were back up, and rebounds and rebounding margin was back up. Let's unpack those multiple stat lines. 3-point shooting, Carolina was 5 for 17 in the game, just 29.4%. And keep in mind, one of those was just like a banked in heave at the last minute from Rob Landry. I almost said Lob Landry. And so, not very great, 29.4%. But I will say this kind of silver lining: it was only 17 attempts. Instead of saying, you know what, we'll just shoot our way out of this and going like 7 of 25, they remembered, you know what? We're scoring a crud ton of points in the paint, infinitely more than they are. In fact, it finished Carolina with 38 and LeHIGH with 16 points in the paint. So yeah, that's good. And so Carolina's saying, instead of just continuing to jack up from 3, let's just keep getting the ball inside, whether it's to Mondo or somebody else driving or posting up. And I love to see also, as part of a little bit fewer attempts, like Jalen Withers at one point had a good look at 3, but he drove for a greater look at the rim, scored 2 points. You love to see it. Also with that, 3s were down, assists were down. Carolina only had 11 on 31 made baskets in this game. That's an assist percentage of 35.5. Remember, we're going for at least 50%, and I had proposed that maybe Carolina could get to 60 in this game. Now, also, to be fair, Carolina went to the line a good bit. We'll talk about those numbers in a minute, but that factors into it as well, because if you don't make the shot, you don't get the assist, and so that's a bummer. I think something should be done to fix that. But free throws are back up. Remember, on last Wednesday's show, Coach Pat Kilby and I kind of bemoaned Carolina's lack of getting to their normal threshold of free throw percentage. Right back to it in this game. The Tar Heels were 23 of 28, shot 82.1% on the game. Remember, 23 of 28. Why do I restate that? Because LeHIGH only took 4 free throws in the entire game. So Carolina made 19 more than LeHIGH took. That is a winning combination for college basketball. So with free throws, 23 to 28, you love it. LeHIGH, and also Jalen Washington, his stroke, he was 3 of 3 from the free throw line. That stroke is so pretty. I love to watch it, and just so excited to see him get out and start stroking from the 3-point line. And then finally, something coming back up is rebounds. Carolina barely out-rebounded Radford in the season opener, but out-rebounded LeHIGH by 21 rebounds. 52-31 was the total. Carolina had more defensive rebounds, 37, than LeHIGh had total rebounds, 31. You love to see it. And finally, the fourth thing on our four corners recap of this game is Carolina's floor spacing. We talked so much about this last year, how because Carolina couldn't shoot, every defense would sag down on Armando and like beg him to kick it out for a three because nobody could shoot it. This year, through 2 games, I'm noticing that everyone has better floor spacing, better opportunities to get shots up, to get to the rim, to post up, whatever it is. And the guys are doing a good job of clearing out of the way. I think it helps when you've got somebody like Harrison Ingram at the 4, not a traditional 4, although it's kind of turning into a traditional 4, his body type and skill set. So we'll have to see. But definitely better floor spacing. Part of that is because you don't have 2 Bacots. You don't have a lumbering 4. You've got a Harrison Ingram 4. Another note with this, too, that I think helps with the floor spacing is when both Elliot and RJ are in the game, RJ is playing the 2. He's playing off the ball as the shooting guard, letting Elliot run the show. Interesting stuff there. By the way, I had made 3 predictions for this game, and every one of them fell flat on their face. I said that Jalen Washington would make his first career 3. He did not. Not only that, he did not even attempt one. Also, I predicted that Carolina would get back up to 60% assist percentage. They did not do that, nor did Elliot Cadeau have double-digit assists. He had 0. So I really missed the boat on all 3 of those. Hey, but that's the thing. If you make predictions, you got to own it when you screw up. And I did. So, shady stat of the game. You ready for this one? Armando Bacot, 70 double-doubles. Wild stuff. Dub-dubs. Love seeing it. His 3rd career 2020 game. Phenomenal. But the stat that I want to point out is one that I think is so critical to this team's success. You ready for it? We already talked about it in passing, but I purposefully skated by it. Armando, in this game, was 6 of 6 from the free throw line. Now, I think in a higher level, higher competition game, he probably would have had more attempts, but just didn't need to in this one. But not only that, in the first game against Radford, Armando was 5 of 6 from the free throw line, meaning on the season, he is 11 of 12, 91.7% from the free throw line. Take that, RJ Davis. But very seriously, Armando's not going to stay at this level. But even if he could stay in the 70s, that would be awesome because he is going to draw foul after foul after foul all season long, and he's got to be more reliable at the free throw line. I love what I'm seeing so far, and I want to see it keep going. Now, the Tar Heels hosting LeHIGh was not the only thing going on in Chapel Hill this weekend. There was so much more. Football game, all sorts of great stuff. We're going to talk about it in just a second. Right after I tell you that this episode is brought to you by Jace Medical. Hey, we spend a lot of time talking together, you and I. We get fired up on wins and losses, who starts, who comes off the bench, all of that. I'm thankful for that connection we have, and today I wanted to make it just even a little bit more personal. Whether you're on extended travel, you're bracing for a major weather event, or limited by yet another supply chain shortage, you have coverage, my friends. Thanks to our partners at Jace Medical, life-saving antibiotics and a long list of daily medications can be ordered in a 1-year supply, even ED generics for Cialis and Viagra prescriptions. Go online right now at jacemedical.com to receive your 12-month supply on your daily medication. Remember to use promo code LOCKEDON at checkout for a discount as well. A verified customer had this to say about Jace: I am thankful for this service. Supply chain issues caused me to cut pills in half just to have them. I ordered most of my pills with a year's supply. I also ordered the antibiotic kit. I feel secure now. Prices are lower than local pharmacies. I highly recommend this for everyone. So if you or someone you know would love to get some peace of mind by having a year's supply of any daily med, go to jacemedical.com to see if it's offered for you. And remember, while you're there, to use promo code Locked On for $20 off your purchase. Locked On for $20 off at Jace Medical. Oh man, Carolina and Duke, this double overtime wacky victory for the Carolina Tar Heels, 47-45. We're not going to go in depth on it today on the show because we did that in our emergency reaction podcast late Saturday night. So make sure to go check that out if you want to hear more on the football game. Now, that said, by the way, having watched back, one of the things I said was, also, I recorded that like immediately after the game, just hopped in, rode the emotion of it. But having watched things back now, one of the things I talked about was Willie Lampkin being ineligible downfield, it just into the end zone because there wasn't much on the 2-point conversion that won the game for Carolina in the second overtime. But here's the thing. Watching it back, I watched it in quarter time speed. As a lineman, you get 3 yards, and if you're still engaged in a block, you're fine. But as Drake released, Lampkin was like right at 3 yards. You know, you could make an argument, but it was like he was at the goal line. The line of scrimmage was at the 3, but also he was still engaged with his the guy who was blocking. So all is good on that one. I think I was just overtaken by his reaction of trying to hide, thinking he had done something wrong. But on second glance, all is good there. Now, I want to look at the basketball recruiting angle of this thing because remember, we talked about this on Friday's show. Koa Pete and Caleb Wilson were at this game. These 2 top high elite 2025 recruits. And so do you remember seeing pictures or video of the scene on the Kenan Stadium field on the surface after this? I mean, just absurd. So hopefully these guys got to experience that, get in the middle of it, and you love to see it. And then obviously a 22-point basketball win on Sunday. Something I want to do is just a quick update on the guys that transferred out of Carolina this year. I don't want to make this a habit because they're not playing for the Tar Heels anymore, but just wanted to update you just right here at the beginning of the year, what's going on with them. Caleb Love, remember, is at Arizona. The Wildcats are 2-0. Remember, they beat Duke on Friday night. So we're all big Arizona fans right now. Caleb's averaging 11.5 points, 27 minutes a game. Has only shot 3 of 11 from 3, 27.3%. So that's not great. Hopefully that'll come back up. He's got a couple of rebounds a game, 3.5 assists, and a block. Puff Johnson and DeMarco Dunn are both playing at Penn State. Puff hadn't been able to play yet. He's been day-to-day nursing an injury, so hopefully he'll get back soon. DeMarco Dunn, 6 points a game, 17.5 minutes. He's hit 2 of his 5 3-point attempts, and Penn State has played Delaware State and LeHIGH, and so it was funny that they played LeHIGh right before Carolina. They played them on Friday, Carolina on Sunday. Dontrez Styles playing at Georgetown now. They beat Lemoyne, the newest member of Division I, so I would hope so, but then they lost to Holy Cross over the weekend. So a little bit of a rough go for Georgetown, who's been in a bit of a rough go for a while. Really expect Ed Cooley to change things around there. But Dontrez averaging 11 points a game, 6 boards a game, has hit 3 of his 8 3-point field goal attempts. So love to see that from Dontrez. Excited for him. Tyler Nickel at Virginia Tech. He's coming off the bench, averaging 7 points a game, 3.5 boards and assists. And so you love to see that. Virginia Tech lost to South Carolina. I was going to say but it was a neutral site on Friday. So, all right, whatever. And then Justin McCoy playing at Hawaii. They haven't played yet. They don't play till this week. So Justin McCoy, nothing really to report. Anyway, just wanted to update you on those guys because, again, I know they're near and dear to our hearts. We're not going to do it in any sort of consistent way. Just wanted to get the ball rolling on the season for them. Some exciting Tar Heel news on Sunday. Leaky Black scored his first ever basket in the NBA. It was awesome. It was a little alley-oop that he laid up. He also had a really nice block just before that. Great stuff. Staying in the basketball realm, the women's basketball team knocked off a pesky Davidson team on Sunday, 74-70. And so that's encouraging. Next game, hosting Hampton this Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So make sure you got your coffee, you eat some brunch, and then you can settle in for the game. Quick weekend runaround here because big time stuff going on. Field hockey beat William and Mary Friday to advance, and then Sunday beat Harvard 4-2. Now they advance to the Final Four, which will be played next Friday at Karen Shelton Stadium. And so they get to be home. And then if they win that, the national championship on Sunday. So, which will also be at Karen Shelton Stadium. So great stuff from the field hockey team. Keep it rolling. Men's soccer. Oh, so close. They tied with Clemson, 1-1, and then Clemson won the ACC championship on penalty kicks. You hate to see it. Women's soccer won against Towson 3-1 on Friday, so they continue advancing in the NCAA tournament. Wrestling got off to a great start, 2-0, beat Buffalo 32-7 and Arizona State 22-16. Cross country Southeast regionals were last Friday. The men took first, the women took fifth. Congrats all around there. And volleyball split a pair this weekend. They won 3-2 at Wake and then lost 0-3 at Louisville. It was like fifth in the nation, so it is to be expected. Friends, thanks for tuning in on a Monday. It's always great to be together. You can email the show lockedontarheels@gmail.com, or even better yet, come join our Discord and just ask your questions in there. It's awesome, great conversation happening all the time. I want to remind you to subscribe to video or audio, whichever way you're in taking the podcast. But for those of you watching, if you would smash the like button and leave a comment so we can hear your thoughts on any of these games from this weekend. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. Can't wait to be right back with you tomorrow. But until then, peace.